Two Men Talking.
What is this, amateur hour?
Dude, I'm trying to record here.
Two Men Talking with Jonathan Hewitt and Patrick Newcomb.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
All right, welcome into the Two Men Talking podcast. This is our first episode. We decided to go with Two Men Talking because, well, it's two men discussing how they feel about certain events that we have selected. So, before we really get too deep into it, I want to give out our email address in case you want to email us for the show, any ideas, any feedback, comments, whatever it may be about the show. And that's at twomentalkingpodcast@gmail.com. And 2 is the number 2. So twomentalkingpodcast@gmail.com. And then our Twitter handle, in case you want to tweet us, please follow us. We, so far, don't have any followers because, well, this is the first episode. But it's at Two Men Talking Pod, and that's the number 2 again. Men Talking Pod. No cast, just pod. So, before we go any further, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Patrick Newcomb.
My name is Jonathan Hewitt, and here to have a good time. Just doing this, just amateur style, getting ready for the weekend.
We are
excited about it.
We're going into this with zero preparation as far as professional training in this. So if it's a little choppy, that's a little bit wise. But you know what? We'll figure it out as we go.
No radio history between both of us. 0 years.
Yeah, 0 years. Okay, so the first thing that we want to just jump right into it, feel free to tweet the show or email the show at any time that you want to. We'll be checking it very, very frequently. But the first thing I want to talk about is the big thing with this podcast is that it's all about what we deem interesting. And a big thing that we're passionate about is sports. Right? Would you say that's correct?
That's big topic. Any average male, our age, 20-year-olds,
right.
usually into sports. I mean, if you're not, that's okay. But
right. We have plenty of topics for everyone. And what we're going to try and do, maybe we'll do it for this show. I'm not exactly sure how much time we're going to have. But we're going to try and put the minute and second time that you can listen per topic. So, for instance, today, if you wanted to go listen to the news stories that we have, we'll tell you the minute and time at the beginning
exciting.
So you can skip to that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So is there anything you want to add before we just jump right into it?
No, we just hope you enjoy listening to it. So just have your ears open.
Right. And keep in mind that this is 2 recent graduates, and so the production level, might not be as high as
college level. You know, able to use iTunes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. GarageBand is actually what we're using right now.
We are a product of our generation. We know how to use computers, know how to use a little bit more softwares than our mothers, which are horrible at it. But
Right. Okay, well, without any further ado, we'll just jump right into the first thing, and that's a big thing for me is video games, and a big thing for both of us is college football. And
Absolutely.
To intertwine both of those, the NCAA football franchise has announced, I think it was earlier today, correct? That they will not be producing a game next year.
Yeah.
There will be no NCAA football 15.
I literally cried today in the middle of work when I heard this announcement.
You literally cried.
Literally. This game has been so important to me and every other average, 20-year-old male who started growing up with it when it, was on PS2, when Lee Corso and everybody was on there. It's just I don't know. I don't know what to do with myself. I was worried that was going to happen. I kind of knew it was going to happen.
Right.
But I don't know what to do with myself next year.
Right. Okay. And if you don't know the backstory behind this, basically there's a bunch of players led by a guy named Ed O'Bannon, and he's suing because the game uses his likeness. Well, not just his likeness. Any football player in a Division I college football school, their likeness is being used as a part of this game. Granted, their name's not being used, but it's...
Name's not being used, but when you have quarterback number 2 from Texas A&M, whose attributes can run really fast and is a great quarterback, I mean... if that's not Johnny Manziel, that's kind of, I guess, where the gray area is in law. They always say law is full of gray. Well, I think that's probably part of it. But nonetheless, I guess the EA Sports got a little scared. So I guess they're quitting the game now.
Right. And the big way that I'm rationalizing this in my head is that maybe there's no college football game for 2015, but maybe we could get a little something going for 2016 or something like that. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I think that's just we're hoping that's going to happen because the game from it started, it was awesome when it started, but it's just got better and better and better and better to where now I can't even imagine coming up in July. Well, there's not going to be an NCAA coming out. What are we going to play next year? Just the same one? Well, I guess you can do that, but I mean, for someone who's bought it year in and year out, it's going to be very disappointing. I'm kind of a little worried about it, so I'm just going to try to cherish every moment this year with the NCAA football and college football games.
Well, not to get too overly geeky about this, but the big thing that kind of bothers me is that, as most people who are interested in college football know, that they are transferring to a playoff system after this next year, or this current year, I guess. And in the game, you can't have that. And so in 2015, they would be having the playoff option. So basically going forward, they won't have that playoff option. And so that's something that kind of aggravates me, I guess, because that's something I was definitely looking forward to.
I don't even know if you can do this for an Xbox, but it would almost be just helpful if they could do an expansion pack, like they do with StarCraft and stuff. I don't know how plausible that is for an Xbox 360 game or Xbox One, whatever you play on. But if they could maybe add a couple features to the old game somehow without even using anybody else new, could that be possible? I'm saying it's probably not going to do it. They're probably just going to wash their hands of it and just be done with it. But, that's just, I guess, the world we're living in today. Everybody wants a piece of the pie.
Right, exactly, and it's kind of along with the concussion thing in the NFL. But one thing I want to touch on before we move on is just simply the numbers in this and the money involved, okay? So this EA Sports licensing fee that they give out to these schools is the second largest revenue for this team, aside from ticket sales and merchandise. So it's basically if it's not merchandise, apparel. So if it's not apparel, if it's not something you're wearing, then more money comes from that, from the the EA Sports, than it does from the actual people buying things. So I think the big thing to keep in mind is that when these people take away this game, that they're taking away a lot of money for these schools. And one thing that I do want to look at is, so it's being reported that they settled for $40 million, all right? So, and there's between 200,000 and 300,000 players that have sued the NCAA as part of this lawsuit. Mm-hmm. So watch, 40 million divided by 200,000. We'll go the minimum. That's $200 per player.
Ooh.
That's big money.
Wow. So, yeah, I guess they can get a couple extra tacos now at Aaron Foster.
Yeah, exactly.
On campus. I mean, I guess that's what it's worth, but, whatever.
Exactly. And so you're really going to – basically you're going to make a bunch of fans unhappy, and you're going to make your schools less money just because you're mad that your life didn't pan out as a football player, and now you want to get an extra $200.
Yeah, really. Cry me a river. I mean, we went through college, and we didn't get half the things that they get in college. So, I mean –
Oh, we will touch upon that in a second.
I know. We're transitioning into that. So,
but I think it's just a big thing that people need to realize, that the amount of money they're getting is not nearly worth the headaches that they have caused and the problems that they have caused. And obviously, this is just my opinion, but I think that they really need to realize that this game was important to people, and it's a very fun game, and it's a huge moneymaker for EA Sports, which I don't really care about their revenue, but it was a huge moneymaker for my alma mater, LSU.
Yeah.
And it was a huge moneymaker for all these big schools that have a very prominent football program. Even the little schools are making money off of that.
Yeah, and not to get too political with this, but it's just the way the mentality I don't know how to say that.
Mentality, yeah.
Thank you. Of today's world is like everybody's thinking about themselves and not the greater good of everybody. You know what I'm saying? So in transition to that, we're going to go into the payment of college athletes. So, what do you think should it happen? If it should, how do we do it, or do we just not do it at all?
Okay. So we've had a lot of conversations about this, and I think the big thing that I keep coming back to is no, that they should not get paid. And I really have two stances, a yes and a no, which sounds very hypocritical, but just let me explain these real quickly. So, first off, the no is, I don't know if whoever's listening, if you've gone to a school where football is prominent, but at LSU, you have players who are getting, first off, they get free tuition, a free place to live, they get free meals, they get a free nutritionist, they get free Medicare, free health care.
Yep.
And it's state-of-the-art healthcare.
Yeah.
They basically get all the attention of being a high-profile athlete, which does come with perks. Granted, they might be NCAA violations, but what can you go with that? So I think the big thing is that they get so many benefits. They have a free place to live, whereas I had to work 2 jobs while I was in college just to pay for my one living expense.
Yeah.
And I understand that they can't take their girlfriends out for a date, but at the same time, neither could I.
Right. And, I didn't even have it the worst in college. I know some people take out so many loans just to get by in college. And, these guys don't have to take out any loans. They're getting a scholarship, and they're getting other things that, a lot of normal college students, and I understand that they don't create revenue, normal college. Oh, I mean, I guess you get paid tuition, but it's not, the amount of money that a football team generates. But anyway, I just think that regular students, they should be complaining about the high tuition cost and what they have to pay.
Right.
But, I mean, what are you going to complain about? I mean, you're trying to get an education. So I just don't understand where these players are coming from. The only thing that I would say would be, if you want to pay them, maybe let them go get their own sponsorships. Like if Johnny Manziel wants to sell his autograph, then he should be able to accept that. I don't necessarily think the school should sit there and pay for things for them because they already do so much for them.
Right.
If Subway wants to sponsor Johnny Manziel or, Taco Bell wants to sponsor Cam Newton back in Auburn, I don't know, whoever.
Yeah.
Let them do that. I mean, if they want to go out and get their own sponsorships. But, much like a Olympic system.
Right.
The Olympic sports. So
right. Well, I mentioned
that's kind of where I stand.
I mentioned how I had 2 different stances. My other stance that is in favor of paying the players, I think we should just say screw it. We should just say, you know what? This is America. This is a capitalistic society. Not to get too political here, but why don't we just open it up to everything in recruiting? Okay, you're a great high school athlete, and I would really love for you to come to LSU. I just happen to be a multi-billion dollar donor, so you know what? I will pay you $1 million to go to Louisiana State University.
Okay, T. Boone Pickens. I will.
Exactly. You can have somebody like T. Boone Pickens.
Obviously, Oklahoma State. Sorry, I don't know.
Right,
I confuse people, but yeah.
Exactly. So I think that'd be something. I think it'd personally get rid of all the problems we have. And yeah, it would suck if you're not a high-profile athlete, but at the same time, you have a chance to earn your way to get to that top money.
But then again, should the backup offensive lineman or the backup offensive lineman make as much money as a starting quarterback? I mean, they don't do that in the NFL.
No, and I think one of the big things that kind of messes this entire thing up is Title IX. And I know it's 2 guys, and so when we talk about Title IX, it's kind of like, all right, well, these are guys, like, what do they really know about women's sports and all that stuff? And I'll be honest, I don't know that much about women's sports because I really don't pay attention too much of it. But I know that aside from football, at LSU, baseball makes a lot of money, but I know that's a very rare exception. Some places basketball makes a lot of money, but other than those 3 sports, pretty much every other sport that these people, these colleges and universities are required to have, almost every single one loses money.
Right. And the university has to pay for it. Unlike, some exceptions like LSU or, I don't know, name a couple other ones that, that actually the athletic programs give money back to the school as opposed to the school paying for them.
I think it's single digits, the amount of schools that
Ohio State's
give
probably
back
one
to the
of
university. I'm sure Alabama or Texas.
So, I mean, aside from those, I mean, even your big football programs aren't even making money. Like a West Virginia or somewhere like that.
Right.
So.
Right. And basically, the big thing about paying college players is that I've seen a bunch of people saying it's time to pay the players. Okay, how are we going to do it? Where's that money going to come from? Because they already have all this money allocated, and I can tell you exactly where it's going to come from if they decide to do this. You'll see the prices of tickets go sky high because you have athletic directors who don't want to give up their big salaries.
Right.
You have all these people who don't want to give up the money. All the money from the TV deals is already allocated. So where are they going to get this money?
I don't know, but you're going to go into a thing like the NFL where they're kind of worried about attendance. I mean, NFL's just making so much money; they're just being a little greedy about it. But I mean, if you keep charging these ticket prices, people aren't going to want to go to the games because it's going to cost an arm and a leg just to go to a friggin' football game.
I feel like if you stuck a certain, I don't want to stereotype all athletes, but I feel like if you stuck an athlete, if you introduced them, let's say on a recruiting trip, you introduced a big time recruit to your library, I feel like his response would be something like this.
Dang. What's up with all these books?
Exactly. So I think we're going to move on now, and I think there's something you wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's football season, so everybody's excited about talking about football.
Right.
It's just on everybody's mind, but what gets lost in that is MLB playoffs. That is something. Baseball.
Good point.
Is my other love. I grew up playing baseball, so football. I mean, as an American, I think football is probably the number one, but baseball is right behind it. And the MLB playoffs are coming up, and I am so excited. My Atlanta Braves clinched the division. They're on their way to being the number one in the National League, so they'll have home field advantage. And I'm excited about that.
Well, let's point this out. When it comes to talking baseball, especially when your Braves are involved, you are the most biased person to talk baseball with. So let's keep that in mind going forward. But so far in the playoffs for the AL, we have Boston Red Sox, Oakland A's, Detroit Tigers, and then it looks like right now, it's not definite, but it looks like the Tampa Bay Rays and Cleveland Indians will be playing each other in a one-game little playoff thing.
One-game playoff. It was added last year.
Exactly.
So, and the Braves were in it last year. Sorry, I don't know. Bring the Braves back. But
how'd they do in that game?
They lost the Cardinals on a BS bullshit call by the umpire calling a infield fly that was not in the infield at all. It was almost over the fence. But anyway.
I said, he's a little biased when it comes to it. But, okay, out of those AL teams, those 5 teams, who's the big player in this? Who are you rooting for, and who do you see winning?
Well, I got to root for the A's because the underdog, and the American side, obviously. And Billy Beane, he's the most efficient general manager. Probably not the best, but definitely the most efficient with what he's working with over there in Oakland. But I think the Red Sox, with what they have on their staff, I think they have the best shot. But I mean, it's the playoffs, man. That it's hard to predict. So, and I'm a little bit more unfamiliar with the American League because I pay attention to the National League more, just because obviously I'm a homer for the Braves. So my Braves are looking awesome. I hope they go all the way. I don't want to jinx them or anything, make a prediction. I just want to say that I hope someone beats the Cardinals before we have to play them because they're the Braves' kryptonite. So if that can happen, then I would love that. If I had to pick a second team that I'm pulling for, it'd have to be the Cincinnati Reds. My dad lives closer up there, and I love going to the Reds games. Great, one of the oldest professional franchise in the United States.
All right. Well, to also break down who's in the NL, we have the Atlanta Braves, as you obviously heard Jonathan talking about. You have the St. Louis Cardinals, who are the Brave Killers, as Jonathan alluded to. The LA Dodgers, who went out and spent a lot of money in the offseason and acquired somebody who's kind of a spark plug in Yasiel Puig. And then you have the Pittsburgh Pirates, who their first winning season in, 20 years? And then you have the Cincinnati Reds. And I'm going to flip that question back on myself. I know that's not exactly how questions work.
That's okay. That's basically, it's 2 men talking. Where, relax, just do your thing.
Right. I don't want to turn this into one man talking and one man listening.
I just went on a rant about the Braves, so I don't know.
Well, I'm cheering for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay.
And the reason I'm cheering for them is because they have been awful. They have been so bad. The last time they were relevant, Barry Bonds was not on steroids.
Right. He looked like me. And I'm just kind of like a fat guy, so
okay. Well, the Pirates they've always come out to these hot starts. The past, I think, 2 years, they've had really hot starts and then they just fizzled out. They've actually finished this time, and they're in a position to actually make something of it. So how can you not cheer for what I am declaring America's team in the playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, it is the true underdog, the number one underdog of the playoffs. It's just, can they, they've strived to get to the playoffs. Can they make something happen in the playoffs is the question.
And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati will be playing in the one-game playoff for that. So before we move on, I just kind of want to throw the flag on myself. I forgot to ask you what you're drinking right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's kind of like the first thing we kind of talk about when we get introduced. So,
well, I mean, it's the first
podcast, and we didn't even. You already messed it up. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking a Sweetwater Extra Pale Ale 420. This is a beer that I was in love with when I was up in Knoxville, and recently, about 2-3 weeks ago, I found it in a grocery store in my hometown down here in Louisiana. So they just moved down here. And when I saw that, I just screamed in the grocery store. Everybody didn't know what was going on, but grabbed me a 6-pack and checked out with that 420. So I'm enjoying myself with this Sweetwater 420. What are you drinking over there?
All right, so I'm not all about the pale ales. I can't do those, but one thing I can do is the dark beers, and I'm drinking a Schwarzbier black lager. It's from Schlafly. I don't know, how do you say that? Do you know how to say it? It's out of St. Louis, and it's
Schlafly, I think. I don't know.
Schlafly. Basically, that's what I'm drinking, and it's pretty good. I'm kind of a beer snob, so
yeah, you kind of just grabbed it out of the refrigerator, didn't know what the hell you were grabbing. So
yeah, I saw black lager on there, and I was like, that's right up my alley. And it said Brewer's Choice,
and I refuse to drink it because it's from St. Louis, so I don't want to have any of that bad juju on there.
Once again, going against the St. Louis Cardinals and with the Braves. Okay, now I want to talk to you about something that's really near and dear to your heart.
Getting away from sports a little bit, right?
Yeah. And that's Disney. We all know that you're a fanatic of Disney.
Yeah. When did that happen?
And specifically, you're a huge Miley Cyrus fan.
Oh, yeah.
So what's been up with your girl lately?
Well, I wouldn't call her my girl, but I don't know. I just feel like she has had this bottled up in her for every Hannah Montana episode she did. It just kind of kept boiling and boiling and boiling till now she's finally free from that, cut her hair, and now likes to have like the long tongue action in everything that she does. I don't know what it is, but it's like, she came out saying that she likes to smoke weed, whatever. I mean, you like to smoke weed, who cares in that sense? But with you like just sitting there going on the crazy end, putting pasties on your covering up your, girl parts and everything. And
I mean, you can say nipples.
Nipples. What? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how far we've decided to go with this. So anyway,
whatever. Just roll with it.
So covering up her nipples, like in the middle of with a concert, see-through shirt. I don't know. Kind of pulling the. What was that girl that went to the MTV Awards with the boob hanging out?
I have no idea.
I forgot. Dang it.
Clearly,
should have looked her
he's
up
on the e-gossip.
Anyway,
but if I had to say something to Miley Cyrus to help her, is stick your tongue in your mouth.
Yes,
that's where it belongs.
I think that's the thing that's bringing it over the edge. Is just the tongue action.
Right. I can understand you kind of want to act promiscuous because you're definitely not the first one, but just keep your tongue in your mouth and you don't look like an idiot. But one thing that I do have two sisters, so I really want to emphasize that they're obsessed with this, and I have no idea why, but they're kind of obsessed with a lot of things. But there's an article, she's on the cover of Rolling Stone, and there was the feature article about her, and she was basically saying that she's an attention whore, and she was saying that when she walked out of a place and there was no paparazzi, she would think, well, where is everybody? Who is more important than me? Why aren't there people here taking pictures of me?
I didn't know that. That just makes me hate her even more.
Exactly. And she thinks that there's no paparazzi. That means no one cares. And if the world worked the way I did, no one would care about this girl.
Yes. No one should care about this girl. Right. I mean, I understand, especially for your sisters, I'm sure they grew up watching her as Hannah Montana. So now she's morphed into this anti-Hannah Montana beast that is just, I don't know, the worst role model maybe in the history of American girls. I don't know. she's just she's a horrible influence on girls now in terms of if they sit there and watch Hannah Montana and then see what she's become. I mean, if you want to act that way, act that way. But, sometimes you're brought to a higher standard whenever you do certain things.
Right, but at least she's not Lindsay Lohan yet.
Yes, not yet, but definitely treading that way. Why can't she just be like Selena Gomez? I love Selena Gomez. She is...
That's your girl.
Gorgeous. She's gorgeous. And, she kind of gets a little frisky with it. She shakes her booty and everything.
Promiscuous, yeah.
But she doesn't bring it over the edge. She knows where to take it back a notch.
You want to know why? She kept the tongue in her mouth.
She kept the tongue in the mouth. Yep.
Exactly. So if you want to up the image, boys and girls, a little advice: when you're in a public place, keep your tongue in your mouth.
Keep your tongue in your mouth, and if you're taking a picture for Rolling Stone, don't lick your shoulder either.
Yeah.
It's not a lollipop.
It's weird. Okay, so now that we talked about that, we kind of got the Selena Gomez out of the way. Do you think that this is Disney's fault? Okay, let me kind of explain. Obviously, she's batshit crazy. Obviously, Lindsay Lohan is batshit crazy. But do you think Disney has a role in this?
I don't know. I think it's more of the parents. I mean, if you look at both of the parents, Lindsay Lohan mom wants to be more famous than Lindsay Lohan,
and her dad's not mentally stable.
And Billy Ray Cyrus was saying how proud he was of Miley Cyrus licking herself on national television,
and grinding on
a 30-year-old man who's talking about blurred lines. I don't even know what the song's about, really.
It's about getting a girl drunk so you can take advantage of her.
Okay, well, thanks for that, because I stopped listening to it.
Wait, do you need to hear it more?
What, blurred lines?
Yeah, I think that's an underplayed song on the radio.
Oh God, no. Jeez, that's what I was about to say. After the third or fourth time I heard it, I was like, all right, let's stop this. This is just damaging to my ears, and it's not good for the public. So, speaking about not good for the public,
good transition.
Going back to video games a little bit. So, we had talked about the difference between GTA 5 and Saints Row 4. Well, yours truly decided to go out and buy that GTA 5.
For research purposes.
For research purposes, which wasn't a good idea, especially if you're in school, because you will not have a life anymore. So I've been battling that. I'm actually giving Pat my copy for the week so he can take it away from me so I can study some more.
It's like an intervention.
It's that bad, It's that bad. It's a world without rules. You could sit. It's a normal GTA game. But what kills me about this game is that please, parents, I'm talking to you, even though you're probably not listening to my show right now, respect the label, okay? If the label says mature, 17 plus, please respect it, because this game, if you're under 17, and I would say if you're even under 18, I guess 17, you're kind of getting into it.
Adult, yeah.
But it's just it's a horrible game for a youngin'. You're growing up. You don't know what the world's like.
Yeah, and just to kind of emphasize how addicted Jonathan is to it, as I'm sitting here trying to prepare for the podcast, he goes, "You mind if I turn on GTA?" Yeah. And he starts playing, and he flies a plane.
So this podcast actually started 20 minutes later because I was flying planes and just murking people.
Yeah, but
So parents, if you buy this game for your kid, because and I'm so passionate about this, because when I was going to buy my copy, there was this 12-year-old kid who was, of course, a douchebag, and because he just sat there and played video games all the time, so he's like, games, whatever, all over himself about it. And his mom was right there, of course, because she had to buy the game for him. And I'm thinking to myself, first off, you're taking forever to check out, and you're talking to this dude about video games, and the guy clearly doesn't care, even though it's his job. He's at GameStop, but he clearly thinks you're a douchebag. So stop talking. But the mom is sitting there, and I guess she just doesn't care about her kids or her kids' education in this world or anything like that, because this game, it's awesome in a sense, but it's awesome for grown-ups, and it's fun to play for grown-ups, and it even wants you to break the rules a little bit. I'm kind of a rule follower. I even I was late night coming back. There was a red light. No one was around. I was kind of thinking, maybe I should just go through this red light. I'm kind of playing with that idea, but you don't want kids to sit there and think that the real world has no rules, because it does, and there are consequences to those rules. And not to get too parenting about it, but anyway.
Right.
Anyway, parents, give your kid up for adoption if you buy this game for him. So
first off, if you're a parent and you buy GTA 5 for your child, I assume that you're a bad parent.
Horrible parent.
And I'm pretty sure that's not even an assumption. That's pretty much a fact. That is confirmed by you buying your children something that you should not be buying them.
Or you just don't know what you're buying, and therefore you're, ignorant to it, and you don't pay attention to your kids.
But let's be real. How awesome is it?
It's pretty awesome. for adults.
Right, okay.
Which should be our target audience, so go buy a copy.
Okay, so here's our little news portion of the show that we have tonight. And I first just want to talk about some of this stuff, and then we can really get in depth into it. So the first one that we're talking about is there was a sketch. You know what? I'll just let you explain it because you know this better than I do. So I'm not even gonna try. So go ahead.
All right. So you know that I am a Batman dude.
Yeah.
Superheroes. I don't care that he's a normal human being. He's rich as hell. He's got gadgets or whatever to make him a badass and kung fu moves, whatever.
It's also a playboy.
He's a playboy. He's my boy is what he is. And so anyway, especially after those Christian Bale movies, oh my gosh, greatest ever. Anyway, we're not going to get into that on this episode.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy, I guess he's a comic book artist, and he forgot to take 2 of his portfolio books out of the trunk of a Crown Victoria taxi in New York City. It said that it was about 100 to 120 sketches were lost, and they're worth tens of thousands of dollars, at least according to this guy. So I don't know what I would do. I mean, especially if it's like your work, obviously. So he's like, it's his work that he's got to, I guess, turn into the comic book. So there's that aspect of it. There's another aspect of the money value. And there's the third aspect of how in the hell are you going to get this? It's New York City. Everywhere you look, there's taxi cabs.
Right, okay. So, and then the second news item we want to talk to, don't worry, we'll come back to it. But a man was hiking Mont Blanc, which is the highest point in Europe.
I'm glad you pronounced that, not me.
Yeah, my little French background helped me with that one. But anyway, he found a metal box as he was hiking up, and inside were rubies, sapphires,
there you go, talking about that roofless.
Sapphires, and emeralds. All these gems worth about $332,000, and he turned them in.
Ooh.
So who would you rather be? Would you rather be the guy who turned in the jewels and lost out on all that money, who lost out on $332,000, or would you rather be the guy who left his comics in the back of a trunk and only lost out on tens of thousands of dollars? Let's put it at $20,000.
Well, what I don't understand is how. What do you mean he turned it in? He just turned it into the government and they just took it away from him?
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. Bad move number 1, dude. If I had to guess, if I had to take one, I think it'd be cool to find the jewels, even though you lost them and you're hiking and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty awesome find. Take little photos, I guess, and stuff. I mean, if it's your comic books, it's your work. So, I mean, you got to explain to your boss that you're an idiot and you left comic books in a taxi cab that are worth tens of thousands of dollars.
$332,000.
Yeah. But you're looking at it just from the money aspect.
Well, yeah, I know.
But that's not the only thing.
But here's the thing. I would, despite playing devil's advocate, I would definitely would have turned in the jewels. I would choose that over losing my sketches. You want to know why?
Why?
Good karma. Karma's real. I believe in it. And he has great karma after this. I will not be surprised if he goes on to win the French lottery or whatever they have in France.
Should. They probably don't, because that's just where the government is, but I don't know.
But
I don't know if they do or not. But anyway, I'd have to agree with you. I think karma plays in it.
So if you found these jewels, what would you do with them?
Well, in hindsight,
Yeah.
knowing that the government would take them away.
Well, not take them away. He gave them to the government. He said, "I found these. Here you go."
Oh, dumb. Jeez, why did he do that?
What would you do?
Oh, man. I would probably pick out my favorite one and keep it just for memory's sake and
Right.
kind of like show it off to your friends or whatever and have it as like a trophy, quote unquote trophy. And then try to sell the others.
Okay. Well, I would take first off, since I do believe in karma, I'm really wrestling on whether or not I should turn those in or not. But I would probably put them in a safe or something and just kind of, until I figure out what I'm going to do with them, I would put them in a safe and just kind of...
It's like winning the lottery. You got to get your lawyer first and figure out what,
exactly.
the technicalities
Say,
of everything.
hypothetically, if I have a friend who found these jewels, what happens if I don't turn them in? So I think that's something that's pretty cool, and it's a pretty cool story. Although it kind of sucks for both of them. I think those are pretty neat stories that we have.
Yeah, I mean, we just found them on the internet, and pretty interesting stories, and kind of crazy. I don't know.
And another thing that's interesting to me is Jimmy Fallon. And I personally think he's pretty funny. I didn't think he'd really do as well as he's actually done after he left Saturday Night Live. Because honestly, he couldn't make it through a sketch without laughing, which kind of made it funnier. But whatever. But lately he's been having some strong segments. And one of them is... The one that you showed me was the lip sync battle.
Lip sync battle, man. That was so much fun to watch.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and who's the other guy? He's some British
guy. I
comedian,
we gotta
maybe. I don't know.
Gotta look up his name really quick.
I'll look it up.
But yeah, I mean, while you're looking that up, I'll kind of explain a little bit. So, personally, I'm a Jimmy Fallon fan when it comes to these skits. I think he's really funny with these. He plays Flip Cup with the celebrities that come and different things like that. I'm not so much of a fan of his stand-up, but anyway, getting back to what we're talking about. So he basically said to them, okay, we're going to pick out 2 different songs each, and we're going to lip sync them, and we're going to have a battle, almost like a rap battle, except you're not actually singing the words, you're just kind of acting out the motions and, acting like you're singing, doing exactly what a lip sync is. So anyway, I thought it was really fun to watch. I thought Fallon was the worst. And it's a tie probably between Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Stephen Merchant is the new name, right? Stephen Merchant. They both had pretty strong showings. Stephen Merchant with Jay-Z hitting it up in the front was really good. If you have a chance, go check it out on YouTube. It's pretty funny. And I think Joseph ended great with the Nicki Minaj, man. That Nicki Minaj song, Super Bass, used to be big up in there.
Well, just to clarify, the Jay-Z, Beyonce, Single Ladies, whatever, it was the second song. The first song he had was the Jazzy Jeff Fresh Prince song. And so I really, really, really thought that the British dude brought it for the rap. If you're sitting at home or whatever you're doing, please not while you're driving, or just pull over the car. Pull over to the side of the road. Just trust me on this one. And all you have to Google is lip sync battle, and it'll come up. Jimmy Fallon and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Stephen Merchant. And it was so funny. And not even funny. I mean, it was just entertaining.
It was just fun to watch.
Yeah.
It kind of like, it shows you that these are regular guys and they like to have fun. And it's just, I think it's just fun to watch celebrities act normally and kind of just, know that they're human.
Right.
So I had fun watching it.
Right. I thought it was really cool. And then the next was the hashtag video that
Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, I feel like it's gone viral. And honestly, I just watched it, and I was a little disappointed. I didn't think it was that funny.
I personally thought it was funny. I mean, I'm not as big of a Twitter user, so maybe you're a little offended by it a little bit. I don't know. I
just think it's stupid. I only thought the end was really funny.
Yeah, with
his band guy, I think it was.
Ending saying, shut the hell up, basically.
Yeah.
Shut the bleep up.
With a different word.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I mean, I'm also a JT fan, so I think he's a really funny guy.
Right.
Very surprising how funny he is.
Yeah, definitely. I think...
He's probably my role model in life. He's got the good looks. He's got the beautiful voice.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Jessica Biel. Need I say more?
Yeah, you know what? He's not struggling.
No.
He's not struggling.
All right. Let me ask you this question right now. Tom Brady or Justin Timberlake?
Ooh. I would have to go with Justin Timberlake. Because here's my thought.
See, this is why it doesn't work, because I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, that's true. But who doesn't like Justin Timberlake? Clearly, if you're...
Britney Spears.
Okay, that's one person. If you're Tom Brady, basically every fan of the Jets and who else?
Yeah, but you're a baller.
Dolphins.
You won 3 championships.
Yeah, I understand.
mean, you lost the last 2, but still.
I understand, but you're going home to Giselle, which is awesome. But the problem with Giselle is that she's got hot sisters. And that's going to start looking a little more attractive as Giselle gets older.
She's a supermodel.
Oh, I agree. I'm not.
Supermodel.
I'm not saying that I think he's slumming it or anything.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen her sisters, but I mean, I'm sure they're gorgeous too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Are they supermodels also?
I don't know if they're supermodels, but they could be supermodels.
She's actually the breadwinner in that family.
Yeah, so. She makes more money than him, so that's actually not a bad
point.
Yeah, but let's be real. It's not like Jessica Biel's struggling or anything like that. So
no, she doesn't either. I
have an excellent idea. Let's change the subject.
All right, so as he said, let's change the subject. Not to cut you off or anything.
Sorry.
What?
Sorry, I didn't know that was happening.
You want to finish that?
Thought left. I don't know what happened to it. It's vanished.
All right, well then what do you want to talk about next? I'll give you next pick since I cut you off.
Okay, all right. Okay, so interesting I saw this week is Louisiana, where we are, is starting a brewery trail. And to kind of compare it to something, I don't know if any of you folks have been to Kentucky, but they have a bourbon trail where they have all these distilleries, and you can go in each distillery and look at basically how they make bourbon. And it's kind of a repeat, but it's really cool to see. I mean, they all say the same thing. I mean, you're talking about making bourbon. It's just cool to see the distilleries, and they've kind of showed it up a little bit since it started. So I think Louisiana's kind of starting something like that, but with beer. In the last couple of years, the beer industry's kind of grown.
Exploded.
Craft beer industry's exploded, and in Louisiana it's gotten even bigger.
Right.
And so I don't know if they're trying to, because in the bourbon trail, what you could do is you can actually get your they give you a passport, quote unquote passport. You get it stamped by each distillery. You send it in, and you get a T-shirt, which is kind of cool. Gives you an incentive to go to each distillery. I don't know if they're doing that or if they're just kind of promoting, like, hey, come check out all of our beers in Louisiana. Either way, you're getting free beer, so, I mean, why not go check it out?
Yeah.
So let me just tell you which ones are doing it, or at least that are listed right now, is the Beta Brewing Company, of course, Bayou Teche Brewery, which is over there in the heart of Acadiana, Chifuncta Brewing Company, which is actually in Mandeville, Covington Brew House, which is in Covington, NOLA Brewery Brewing Company, which is in New Orleans, Parish Brewing Company, that's another one over there in Acadiana, and then Tin Roof Brewing Company, which is in Baton Rouge. So like I said, I don't know if they're doing the whole T-shirt thing or if they're just kind of promoting this. Either way, I think anyone who goes around to each one of these breweries would have a great time. I've been to a couple of different breweries, done the brew tours. They give you free beer. You get to just talk about beer the whole time. So, I mean, what the hell are you doing sitting on your ass not doing anything on the weekends? Go check out a brewery.
Right, and for those of you who don't know, which I guess if you don't know us, then you don't know, but Jonathan over here is the brewmaster. He loves brewing his own beer. In fact, what are you brewing this weekend?
Well, I thought you were going to help me.
No, I am going to help you.
We're going to try to brew a pumpkin ale. Now, this is the 3rd year in a row I'm going to try. First year, I did it with my mentor, Adam Bean. Sorry, name dropping there, Bean. But anyway,
shout out.
He kind of taught me or got me into home brewing, and I wouldn't call myself a brewmaster by any means, but I do enjoy home brewing, and I've gotten into it. Kind of starting to slowly bring up my inventory in terms of tools on how to brew. Just bought a wort immersion chiller, so if you know what that is, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And if you don't know what that is, don't worry, because I don't know what the hell that is either.
Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. Look it up. Educate yourself. So anyway, we're going to try a pumpkin ale for the 3rd year in a row. Last year, I did it by myself with my brother, Nate.
So not by yourself.
It didn't turn out as... Oh, that was my first one of the first ones I did on my own as the lead brewer.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't turn out great. It's not one I really wanted to drink after, 3 or 4 of them. So I've brewed a couple since then, had a little practice, and I'm pretty excited about it.
I'll tell you what, this man to my right over here, and well, you can't see us, but the guy sitting to my right is Jonathan, but he makes a mean amber ale.
Yeah, that was the last one I did.
It was
I got
awesome.
super busy during the summer, so I haven't really been able to practice since then. But that's the best beer I've ever made.
It was awesome. So is there anything else that you want to add to that before I...
No, just if you want to go check it out, go to breweries.louisianatravel.com. Check out what I'm talking about. You get the addresses and everything.
Right.
I think it'd be a cool thing to do.
Here's my question. If you... I know you kind of don't know, but what would be my incentive to go to all these places? Do you know?
Number one, free beer. Number two...
Well, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, number two, if you just want to... I mean...
Do you get like a grand prize if you go to all these places?
No, that's what I was trying to... I don't know that yet.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Right.
And I actually wrote to them, I don't know, like some info thing, saying, kind of describing about the Bourbon Trail, saying like, hey, if you offer a T-shirt, at least it gives people incentive to go to each one.
Right.
So I think it's kind of like an informational thing, like saying, hey, go check out our breweries right now. But they may get into something like give you an incentive to go to each one and check them out. I mean, personally, I would just because I love beer and I love seeing the process and just talking about it with people that enjoy the same thing. So, like I said, there's usually at these places you get free beer and as much as you want in that time span. So,
right. Okay. Well, sitting back, what is your favorite Louisiana beer that you like when you just sit back, relax? Maybe you're watching football, or maybe you're watching whatever you watch, playing GTA or whatever. What's your favorite Louisiana beer that you've had?
Well, I mean, that's a little bit of a hard question just because I personally really like, I told you I like that Vouquet. It's called Vouquet Ray IPA made by Defuncta. And the problem with that is that it's on draft only right now, so they don't have any bottles, so you can't just sit on your couch and, unless you got a growler, of course, and you fill that baby up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the one I'm really high on right now. Bottled. I would say I'm really enjoying the Nola Hopatulis, and you can tell I'm on an IPA kick right now. I don't know, it's just crazy. Anyway, Nola Hopatulis, I really enjoy that one. And throw another one in there. You can't go wrong with the Abita Amber. So,
Abita Amber is such a strong beer, and I don't mean that like it's very pungent or whatever. It's just such a strong entry for beer of the year. Really, it's like my go-to whenever I can't find anything that I really, really fall in love with or something that I really, really want. I think the Abita Amber is kind of my go-to beer. Everyone has the go-to beer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the one for me.
It's a strong one. It's good.
Yeah, it's and once again, it's not like strong as in the taste. It's strong as in it's awesome beer.
Solid.
So we'll get you out on this. So what is obviously tailgating's a big thing at LSU, and LSU goes to play Georgia, which is tomorrow, which I guess by the time this airs will be today. And we don't want to date ourselves, so we're not going to make a prediction or anything like that.
Just go Tigers.
Exactly. But what's your favorite tailgate food?
Okay. Favorite tailgate food, something I always have to have at a tailgate.
Right.
Those jalapeno poppers.
No hesitation.
No hesitation. If you don't have jalapeno poppers at your tailgate, I don't know what you're doing with your life.
Okay. For people who don't know what those are, maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Okay. All right.
Give us a little recipe on how to do it.
Well, you do it in many different ways.
How do you
obviously.
do it?
Lately, the way I've been doing it is just you chop your jalapeno in half, and you put cream cheese.
Ways.
Long ways. You put cream cheese in there, and then you just wrap it in bacon. And it's simple as that.
Do you take the seeds out? Jalapeno seeds are pretty hot.
Personally, what I do is I'll usually try to make a spicy plate and one that's a little bit less mild, just for people that can't handle the heat. But me and my friends just love the heat, so we try to spice it up as much as possible. So you could do it different ways. There's another way that my friend back in college used to do. Excuse me. He used to wrap the cream cheese he used to mix the cream cheese with bacon bits and cheddar cheese, and then on top of that, put some more cheddar cheese, and he would bake them in the oven. So I guess that's not tailgate wise, but
yeah.
Like I said,
Still,
personally, I think jalapeno poppers need to be at a tailgate. Depending on the what time of year it is, your entree can be a little different.
Yeah.
But that appetizer is always solid. It's always there. I always like to have it.
That's really, really a good. I mean, it's easy and they're delicious.
Delicious. And everybody likes them.
Exactly. And so that's a very strong. The only thing that I struggle with is throwing the toothpick to keep the bacon in. I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
my toothpick skills aren't that great.
You're college educated, so you should figure that out. But whatever.
Right. My favorite would have to be brisket. All right.
Well, now let's just say this for note. that let's just say this for note that Patrick's dad. I don't know. Should we name drop him?
No.
No name drop. Anyway, Pat's dad makes some of the best brisket probably that I've ever had, and I would say is a strong candidate in this area because he's such a good cook.
He's an excellent cook, and it's just such a great thing to have on game day. You just the best thing that I like is not only the brisket, but the brisket sandwich. So you have the brisket, you have the nice little roll, and you put the barbecue sauce on it, and homemade barbecue sauce. We don't mess around with that bottled stuff. We have the homemade barbecue sauce on the rolls with the brisket. And, okay, I'll be the first one to admit that at tailgating at LSU since we were youngins, it's kind of spoiled us. But
oh, yeah. I mean, we went to Auburn, and, their fans were really nice. And
they were great.
Great fans. But I have to say, a little weak on the tailgating.
And by a little, a lot. But
I mean, I was in college. We were both in college at the time.
Right.
I was getting crazy over there in the student tailgate, and they had literally had Auburn fans filming us, watching us dance and drinking stuff. Like, it was a pretty crazy time, and we brought it that day. And the sad part is that Cam Newton brought it also on our team.
Yeah,
but before the game, we had an awesome time.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's pretty much all we got for today. If you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to tell us that we're doing a great job, and, well, if you want to tell us we're doing a terrible job and that we need to fix some things, you can either email in or tweet us. You can email us at twomentalkingpodcast@gmail.com, and that's the number 2, not any spelled out version of 2. So twomentalkingpodcast@gmail.com. And then if you want to go to our Twitter and tweet us, it's at twomentalkingpod. And so that's at the number 2, men talking POD, like podcast, pod.
Peas in a pod.
Yeah, exactly. So is there anything you want to add?
No, I just want to say I had an awesome time tonight.
All right, yeah, we're going to try and get these out probably, once a week-ish.
Try to be once a week. We're kind of travel distances.
Yeah.
A little difficult, but, I just want to say if you enjoy it, awesome. Give us feedback. If you don't enjoy it and you want to tell us that we suck, we can take a negative feedback, but just don't listen to us anymore. We don't want any of your negativity, any of that negativity happening. So
that's false. I want the negativity. It makes me better. But
well, I mean, I don't want somebody just sitting there constantly saying the same things every week in and week out.
Yeah, but some people kind of
get off my board.
But okay, so we talked about a lot of things, and if there's some kind of topic you want us to talk about more or even talk about less, then any criticism is good criticism. So definitely tell your friends to listen. Definitely, we're going to try and get a website up and running so you can just go to the website.
YouTube channel.
And we're going to get a YouTube channel up and running. Like we said, we just started this. This is our first episode. So
YouTube channel will definitely come before the website. And
probably, yeah.
And it'll probably be it'll probably be the same as the Gmail account, right?
Yeah, something like that, depending on what domain names and what YouTube accounts are available.
Just search Two Men Talking Podcast.
Exactly. So with our glasses empty and our mouths all talked out and our bellies full, we will bid you a farewell and thank you very much for listening.